Welcome to the Accountancy Learning AAT sample paper walkthroughs. In this video, I'll take you through the Level 3 Tax Processes for Business, Sample Paper 2, Task 4. This will be based on Finance Act 25. We're told that Jazz is an accounting technician who works for a firm of accountants. Jazz is working on a VAT return for the Salt Design Company for the quarter ended the 30th of September 2025. The company uses the cash accounting scheme. Jazz has entered a payment to a supplier totaling $529.20, including VAT at a standard rate, as indicated on the invoice. The accounting software has calculated the VAT as £88.20, whereas the supporting invoice shows VAT at £25.20. Identify the reasons for the difference by completing the following statements. So we've got to decide whether the invoice is correct or not. So the invoice is standard rate. So if we work out what the VAT should be on the VAT inclusive price of £529.20, we do indeed come out at £88.20. So that means that the invoice is incorrect. Now what it's actually done is the £25.20 is going to be a reduced rate. So if you were to calculate it as if it was on the reduced rate, you would see that the £25.20 is at 5%. So the invoice has got reduced rate VAT. Identify one corrective action that Jazz should take. So should we change the figure in the software? Should we contact the Salt Design Company to ask them to investigate with their supplier? Or use the figure in the software and take no further action? So there's a discrepancy. So we shouldn't do anything without any investigation. So we should contact the Salt Design Company and ask them to investigate. The Salt Design Company invoiced a customer for £1,500 plus VAT at a standard rate on the 1st of August 2025. The customer paid for half of the invoice on the 15th of September, and the remainder was still outstanding on the 30th of September 25. We need to calculate the amount of output tax relating to the above transaction that will be included in the VAT return for the Salt Design Company for the quarter ending the 30th of September 25, and we answer to the nearest whole pound. Now, jumping back up to the information we're given at the top, remember they use the cash accounting scheme. So we're only concerned about paying over the VAT when we get the payment from the customer. So they've only paid for half the invoice and half of it is outstanding. So half the invoice is 1,500. Divide that by 2 is 750. So we would then times it by 20% to see what the amount would be. And that is what's going to be included on the VAT return. So just remember when you're answering these questions, just check, are they on a normal scheme or do they have the special scheme? Jazz has noticed that the bank reconciliation for the quarter for the Salt Design Company was not completed. He has identified 4 transactions that need to be posted into the accounting software. So we need to calculate the changes that need to be made to the figures for output tax and input tax for each transaction. And we need to enter to the nearest penny, so 2 decimal places. Where there is no change, enter 0.00 and make sure that we don't leave any blank cells. So we're looking at how we're going to post this to the VAT account. So a payment to a supplier totaling £90.24, and the documentation shows VAT at the standard rate. So this is payment to a supplier. So it's not going to affect output tax because a supplier means it's going to be an input tax. So we'll put 00 in the output tax one. But the input tax, So we've paid £90.24. That is our gross amount. And we've got VAT at the standard rate. So again, whatever your preferred method is, divide by 120 times by 20, divide by 1.2 and times by 0.2. You can get the input tax of £15.04. Now the next one is an amount paid to HMRC for VAT for the quarter ending the 30th of June 2025 of £3,868.71. Now, this is a payment for VAT, so this won't have any impact on the output tax or the input tax. So we will put 0 in both columns. The third one is proceeds from the sale of a computer for £300. The Salt Design Company had claimed the input tax on the original purchase. So we're going to be charging output tax on this sale. There was £300 total proceeds. So again, that's the gross amount. So working out the VAT in your preferred method would bring us to £50 output tax adjustment. And remember, 0 on the input tax column. And then the very final one, a direct debit for the payment of electricity for £262.50. And this time the supporting documentation shows VAT at 5%. So this is a payment out for electricity, so it's not going to affect output tax, but it will affect input tax. Now this time it's at 5%. So we've got the gross amount of the payment, which is £262.50. So divide by 1.05 or divide by 105, then you can work out 5% on that, which comes to £12.50. And then that completes task 4.